I like to get video recorded just because I say, oh, and well, we've been doing this now. I think we got like about 100 now. So it's really useful to go back and see those.
So you got more content I can go.
Yeah, you go to ustream.tv and then search Rocky Mountain Inventors, and you'll get our videos. We're right at 100. So, because in the past we'd have, we have, oh, that was a great presentation. Well, it just went into thin air. Especially these days with all the great stuff around. So, yeah, what probably, there's these places, they advertise on late night cable, and one of them's called Invent Home, another one's called Davison. It's like Davidson without the D. And so we get people in this group that have been there, and they've spent anywhere from 500 to 20,000 we've had. The patent office told me they've had some that have spent up to 70,000. And so they get these people, they know there's all these people with ideas, and they don't want to start businesses, or they don't know how, or people say, well, I have an idea, and I don't have much money, and I don't have a place to make stuff, and I don't have a warehouse, and all this stuff, and yeah, so they tell them, well, gee, we're the exact place for you. We'll take it off your hands. We'll take care of everything. You just send us some money and kick back, and the whole thing is, and I tell people, the deal is they take in thousands of people, and they just don't give the individualized time and attention to a product it needs to even have a shot at success. They're going to do a quick and dirty patent search. They'll probably in the patenting end throw together a design patent or throw in a provisional that's kind of mediocre. I've seen their work, but where they really rip off people is on the marketing. And they put together these booklets and reports, and it's got a nice cover and everything, and all that's in it is publicly available information off the internet. And so this problem has been going on for a while, and even back in the late 90s, the Federal Trade Commission got in on it. And so, they made them so they had to disclose stuff. How many people they take in, how many people break even, like they make, $1 more than they spent, and stuff. So, of course, the odds are pretty low. The last I saw in licensing, about 1 in 200 broke even. And they didn't really make money. That just means they recovered what they spent. 1 in 200. Now you think about that. That's 0.5%. So if you're an entrepreneur starting out, well, you've probably got a good 1 in 10, 2 in 10 chance. So that's a heck of a lot more. And it's basically because you're in control, But all this stuff, I was exposed to this first in the late 90s, and I know they had these disclosure rules, and I'm just kind of surprised, here we are 16 years later, these outfits are still thriving because they play into this big population of people, and they tell them what they want to hear. And then it's a ratcheting up thing, like, okay, we'll evaluate your idea just for $100, and then the next phase is 500, the next phase is 1,000, and the next phase is 5,000, and it just goes up and up and up. And I even some of my own clients I thought wouldn't fall for this. They came to me and told me they spent money, and it's like, well, you don't know exactly what to say. The money's gone. So, but I think that the major thing, and it seems like you're oriented toward being an entrepreneur, but it's like, I tell people, you got to stay the general contractor here. I mean, you can contract out your manufacturing, you can contract out your marketing, product design, everything, but you have to be the one running things. Stay involved, stay in control. Don't let go, okay, I'll just let some organization take care of this for me. And it works for them, but they really don't, like they say, okay, we take your product to trade shows. That means they've rented a booth at a trade show and they have a desk with a big book, and then your product is like on page 48. That does you no good. I mean, if you're at a trade show, you need to have, the whole booth and your product on display and everything. So anyway, this one, this is really just kind of a nutshell summary of that brochure I gave you. But these guys, they spend a lot on advertising. I mean, they run banner ads in the New York Times, and they seem legit because they're in national media pretty heavy, and certainly on cable TV, a lot of online. One aspect you learn about them is they change their company name quite frequently, which is a bad sign. When they do patent searches, they never give you patent opinions. By law, they can't employ lawyers or patent attorneys. It has to be a third-party contractor. But they have people that contract and do volume with them on this. So I just think it's just better you stay involved. You pick the people who you'd have do your stuff. Stay involved. That's the main thing. And of course, a lot of people say like they're difficult to communicate with, and everybody's got a great idea. I guess I should have thought to bring some of the books, because I've got some of their books, but they'll have pictures of Einstein and everything, and then there's your stuff, so you're right up there. Anyway, so to start out, the inventor's hook, free inventor's kit, you send away for that, and they do a very cheap inventor's evaluation, which of course shows your product looks good, and then more reports, more money. And I say that comes in a fancy binder. It's almost bound like a book sometimes. And then they want more money for the trade shows, possibly a design patent or a provisional. They rarely do a utility, which is the one that takes more work. But that's the most powerful one legally. So the questions, and this is, because sometimes people still want to use these people, and then they start asking these questions and they won't get answers. But number one, that's a legal requirement, and that's on that other sheet. Like one, the total number of inventions evaluated, how many they took in. Number three, how many's received a net financial profit, and so on and so forth. So, people want licensing deals, but it's like, there's tens of thousands of people wanting licensing deals, and there's only a few companies that are considerate, so they can be picky. And I tell people, unless you've got some super strong inside connections, you're wasting your time. It's just not going to happen. And if you grow the product and get the business going, they'll find you, because they'll be interested in you, and then you know that you're going to get some money for it. One easy thing, litigation history, these days with Google and stuff. Like if you take Davison, they're in Pittsburgh. If you Google them, you'll see all their lawsuits. And it's like tens of millions in fraud they've been sued for. And somehow they stay in business with this stuff. It's kind of like, well, we took in a product, okay, it didn't make it. Well, I mean, it's not illegal to have bad business judgment. I guess it's just a matter of what you promise to people you deliver on, even though there's no guarantee of product success. But we really try to work people to stay away from them. But I suppose they're always going to be out there because they prey upon two fundamental aspects of human character, which is greed and laziness, I hate to say. But everybody's got ideas. I could sit in a hotel lobby and everyone that walks in, I got an idea. And most of the time it's like, that's all it ever is. People never do anything with it. And you can tell the people that have actually started a business because then they understand how difficult it is. And it kind of goes along with people are worried about someone stealing their idea, and that's good to be legally conservative, but the reality is you could tell 10 people and they're probably not going to do anything because it's too hard. You know, it's not like they're going to steal it and make a company overnight. It's very difficult. So you haven't had personal experience with any of these? You've probably seen the ads.
Yeah, I've seen the ads, you know, it's like they've got a little wheel, invention wheel on TV and those type of things.
The caveman, yeah,
Yeah, caveman.
pounding the
And,
wheel.
I've made some inquiries, you know, call them, you know, what do you do, and how much money do you spend, you know, and you find out pretty quick, like you say, that they're just, all they're doing is making money off people who have ideas.
Yeah, they specialize in newbies, naive people, and people that are new to this are naive, and then they couple that with unrealistic expectations, and then they get taken advantage of. But a lot of people, like you say, you know, they might make the initial contact, and then things kind of got weird, like they were hard to get a hold of, they wanted money right away, they weren't real clear about what they were doing, and people feel a little uneasy about shipping them their idea. So there's some players in this field that are legitimate, but it's still like quirky, you know. I mean, there's business people and they go, there's a need for this. There's a need for this. Most inventors have no interest in starting a business, and they'll say, I have no money. Of course, that's a matter of being creative and working to find it, you know. If you're working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, you'll find money. So, you know, quirky, somewhere like that, they take ownership of it, and then, you know, if it succeeds, they'll give you some minor percentage. But those guys are going to be pretty darn picky, and they're going to get submitted, you know, thousands of things and pick a couple of them. So people shouldn't count on that. And just because quirky doesn't pick you doesn't mean your idea is no good. You know, it's a matter of personal opinion. But that's about all. Usually, I mean, some people have some horror stories. It's just, I guess, if there's someone willing to take the money, there's someone willing to give it up.
Yeah. Now that person, whoever they are, they have their own idea, their own invention, right? Let's start a company to have people give us money for inventions and ideas.
Yeah, it's kind of like a business method idea. You know, it's there's a lot of businesses that are low tech or no tech. You know, it's a service business, and they make money in volume. Although it kind of ends awkward or adverse, you know, because people realize that they've spent all this money and then nothing's ever going to happen. I mean, I see that in clients too, because people come in, they're excited. We get things going on, say, a patent and trademark, and a few years goes by, and they're discouraged because it's turned out to be a lot more difficult than they expected. Everything's taking longer. they might have production problems, technology problems. They might have problems getting the patent or trademark. Um, they might have funding and finance problems. Uh, it might just be a problem of getting known in the market. And I've been focusing on, like, I've seen so many hangups when people do get going, like the distribution and sales thing is like, everyone thinks they want to be in a big store, but they're pretty ruthless, and they will take a huge cut of your profits. So you have to be careful.
Have you seen Porter's Five? Talks about things like that, how your distributors are your people that you depend on to either manufacture or
Oh,
distribute your
yeah,
product.
they're,
Those people come in, and Walmart's the world's worst, but there's actually something from Harvard Business Review called Porter's Five, and it was really, really interesting. That's somebody I found it on some site when we were looking up something else, and it was really.
and it's a way, especially large companies, engage in monopolistic behavior. As I was, I was hearing a cute story about Ben and Jerry's ice cream problem with distribution. As even though I'm on the legal end, the business end interests me, because I think I can try to help clients and see the issues. Because it's like, the whole thing is, there's a huge dichotomy between a product and a business. And people have to understand that. Inventors are always focused on a product. Well, I got a prototype made, works, I got my patent and my trademark, now what? And they get stuck there because they can't get that transition into a business. But anyway, like, well, Ben and Jerry's, this is happening in beer now too. But distributors typically carry competing products because it's more economical to have one truck ship products and go to all the same places.
Right.
And so in the ice cream world, it's even more critical because you need freezer trucks, which are expensive. And so when Ben and Jerry's morphed from they were an ice cream shop, a service business, they morphed to an ice cream manufacturer. And they started, and they were growing pretty well. And of course, naturally, they used these independent companies that distribute ice cream because they have the special freezer trucks. And those companies were mostly carrying Haagen-Dazs products, which is owned by Pillsbury.
That's a big name.
Yeah, so everything was fine, and Ben and Jerry's kept growing. And Haagen-Dazs finally woke up to the fact that these guys are a threat to us. So Haagen-Dazs went to these distributors and said, if you want to keep our business, you'll only carry us and not Ben and Jerry's. And so they did something to hardball them, and so the distributors told Ben and Jerry, we're not going to carry you. Well, it was almost devastating. And they figured out what was going on, and certainly the law's on their side. This is anti-competitive behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like the legal solution stinks because it's a lot of time and money and everything. So it was really cool. Ben and Jerry's got real creative. They did an ad campaign and tried to win in the court of public opinion. And they shamed the Pillsbury Doughboy. So they would show the Doughboy being real nasty. He's like, what's the Pillsbury Doughboy got against us? We never did anything to him. And this pressure worked.
Really?
And Haagen-Dazs led up on it and agreed that to let the distributors could carry competing products. And so beer, the big merger between InBev and SAB Miller, one company is going to control 80% of the market, which is ludicrous. Yeah. And so it's the same thing. You have independent companies that do all this distribution, the trucking, and they're going to say, you're not allowed to carry craft brews to knock that competition out. So the craft brews, you could build your own distribution network, but it wouldn't be economical.
Yeah. That's, like one of my customers in Oklahoma, Pope Distributing. That's what they do, and they
And
your
those
products.
drinks go to all the same, the convenience stores, the bars, grocery stores. All,
Yeah, that's your channel, that's why
yeah.
you have them that way. Yeah, it seems like the courts wouldn't allow that, to have anybody to exert any kind
Well,
of pressure.
they'll try it and they're wrong, but they can sure do some damage.
And they've got deep pockets.
Yeah.
They've got deep pockets, and they've got the deepest pockets compared to people that are competing against them, but,
Because it's like, you think about a company like you're making a tangible product. I mean, you're really just a great big pipeline from where the product is born, so to speak,
Right.
manufactured, and it's warehoused, it's shipped, retail, customer.
right.
And so they just choke off a portion of this pipeline to try to like screw you up.
Now that's where Kroger has a three-tier system. You've heard of Kroger
The grocery chain, right?
grocery
Yeah.
chain? They actually have a three-tier distribution system, so they actually make their own, pop, it has their own name on it.
Right. Yeah, they all have their home brand.
Right, so they have their home brand, and they've got 2 or 3 manufacturing facilities in the country where they can make their own and, and ship their own within their own system, but then they also have outside people that come in, so of course, what they're doing is looking at taking the profitability that they might be giving to a distribution channel. They have their own trucks, and so most places only have a two-tier, they'll manufacture it, and then they'll, send it to a distributor who goes on and so they'll have.
Yeah, because the
2 tiers.
distributor, for them to do well, they got to keep the trucks full, going both ways.
Right.
And that's logistics. It's a lot of scheduling stuff. And
Yeah, but it's interesting that Kroger, I didn't realize until I did a little research that Kroger has a three-tier system, internally, which is interesting, because I didn't know what a three-tier system was. But when you manufacture it, and you market, and you ship it, you distribute it, and you retail it, it's 3 tiers. You have all 3 tiers, rather than having just the manufacturing.
so you
or
can
just
afford less
distribution.
markup.
Yeah, right, so within your own products. And
That's
why-
like you're selling like directly online, so there's no middleman. It's direct manufacturer consumer.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that Walmart's done with some of its own brands, great value. Well, what they're doing is they're not buying it from someone else, they're actually having it manufactured with their name on it, so they become a two-tier. But they would actually manufacture the product themselves, physically make it.
Yeah.
It would be a three-tier system, but Kroger I didn't realize how big Kroger was, because that's more out in Chicago, Northeast, part, but they are, I can't remember, they're like 47 billion or something, I mean, they're monsters.
So are they the number one grocery store chain in the country, or probably number 2 or number 3?
Independent grocery, they're not next to Walmart, and I think Safeway and others are bigger than them, but, they all the King Supers and, markets and,
Si-
loaf and jugs,
Yeah, City Market. Yeah.
they're all a part of Kroger, which is interesting, because they do the same thing too. They say, well, and you learn all this in our business, when we start doing all these business studies, is you find out that they had grocery stores, and then they realized if they made their own bread, they wouldn't have to pay somebody for bread, they could make their own bread. That's where they got into the 3-tier. And then they said, okay, well now, some of these products would sell in little convenience stores. If we put it in the convenience store, we've already got the product, we're already, distributing it, why don't we just stop at the loaf and jug on the way to the city market? And then they got into the gas business, and that's how they've just grown and grown and grown. They're monsters. It's amazing. And I heard of Kroger before, but I'm from Oklahoma. They didn't have a presence in Oklahoma. They've only got one loaf and jug.
Yeah, because grocery stores are kind of regional.
Yeah. And there's some pretty competitive places in Oklahoma that are kind of regional companies, that do pretty good. And you still have the Safeways, of course, you have the Walmart super centers and the corner markets, but,
Yeah, because those guys kind of horned into the grocery business
yeah.
that they traditionally weren't in. Well, and like you say, gas too. Because the big King Supers here, they have gas stations at the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah, they do, and it's all Kroger. It's all owned by Kroger. And the King Supers are, I think it's Bolt is where their brand
Okay.
I mean, Google's a great thing. You know, you find out one thing and you go, well, what's a three-tier market? Because, you know, you're reading some information about these, but
I know, I feel like I should make contributions, well, like to Wikipedia, because I use them so much.
yeah,
And I really like it, because anything you look up there, it's so clean. Your info's right there. You're not gonna have all these nasty ads bleeping at you, and you have to like get through stuff, and
yeah, absolutely. I was gonna show you this business model canvas. Um, This is,
template, huh?
yeah, this is what we're studying, and this is what we have to go through and do. So your value proposition would be in here, so whatever product that you say you're going to sell, or whatever service you have would be your value proposition here. And then your channels would be, you know, we've got the truck on there, so this is how you're gonna get your product, whether it's online or, you know, shipped or.
Right, because most products you're gonna do multiple channels.
Right. And so these are your channels that go through here, and then your customer segments over here is who's your target market. And then on this side is your customer relations. Are you gonna, you know, because what you sell them and how you communicate with them are two different things. And so that's up here, and then over here you've got your partners, which might be your distributors, manufacturers, things like that. And you've got your resources, your activities. You have to figure out what your cost structures are, and you have to figure out what your revenue streams are. And if you walk through this is a book. And if you go through this book and do it all, and then use Live Plan to do a pitch, and this is what we have to do in our school.
Well,
That's
that
what
sounds
they-
good and complete.
Yeah, they make us, and that's, you know, the other things they have are again, you know, debt reduction and a lot of things.
Yeah,
We
capital
have
structure, and those are kind of advanced subjects, but yeah, I mean,
all of this stuff. And
when
worldwide
businesses
economy.
grow, it gets complicated.
Yeah, that's why we have to have CEO training. They actually have us go through CEO training and say, if you're gonna start a business, and it's gonna have, it's gonna look like this, you're gonna have employees, and how many employees you're gonna have, and how do you set up your teams, you know, 5 people at a time.
Right, because you run it with 5 people, you run it a lot differently than you do with 50
Right.
or 100 or 500.
You have to get your 5 going, and then they may have 3 or 4 people each, but then when they get to where they have 5, then they have a team. And it was, man, it was deep. This guy, Dean Radke, who was the Limited, you've heard of the Limited, the store, the Limited.
Limited, yeah.
The Limited. He was with them and did the CEO structure and worked with their main guy when they went from like 1 billion up to 7 billion.
Mm.
He was the guy in the middle of all that, doing all that, and he created a structure on how you create a large business like that. And he actually comes out to our school and teaches, so
Oh, cool.
it's pretty intense, but it's pretty cool. I mean, we get a lot for our money, but I think the thing that's exciting is the things that you're talking about with people. They don't know how to set up a business. They just have this idea. By the time you come out of this school that we go to, you either decided that you're not gonna be in business because there's too much to it.
But that's good. I mean,
What you doing?
yeah, we have a lot of in and outs in this group too. And, you know, and some people go, you know, this isn't me, and that's fine too. I mean, better to find out sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that we don't know, and I think because our main teachers up there, like Billy Epperhart, who's, he's got a multi-million-dollar real estate company here in Denver, and he's a part of the Rocky Venture Capital Group too. And so
What's his name?
Billy Epperhart,
Hmm.
and he's got some other businesses and things that he does, but he's one of our teachers. And I think the interesting part is that they know a lot of this information, all the things we're working on, but the part that they don't know, or that they don't appear to have as much information on, is what, like patent attorneys, and what do you need for patents, and we even did a.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing with all the intellectual property, it needs to dovetail in with your business strategy.
Yeah.
Because it's really there to help your business. You know, you don't want to have a patent. You want to have a patent because it's an asset to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I have to tell you, it's kind of interesting story. I've had ideas and had an entire idea.
A brainstorm.
Yeah, it was just, the whole thing was just there, and I drew out the whole thing, and it still hasn't been invented, hadn't been, done. But I just drew out the whole thing, and I thought, wow, that was pretty cool, went back to sleep. But over all of these years, once or twice a year, would be something I go, that's something, that would solve a problem. I could solve that problem with this idea, or, we have this to solve it, and so I just wrote those down, and as I got towards the end of my career, which I am now, I was about the last 7 or 8 years, I would think, well, I think I'll work a little bit on this idea, this invention, because when I get to where I'm ready to step out of, doing the Xerox thing, I want to take one of these ideas.
Right, you
and
can
work
put your full-time effort on
Yeah,
it.
and that's what I plan on doing. Well, about 6 years ago, I hear this teacher up here, this Andrew Womack, and I hear his teaching, and he put forth an idea that just answered all kinds of questions that I had about religion and God and just things in general, and it was really neat because I've been looking for some answers, and I couldn't seem to find any in church. And he put these ideas out. Matter of fact, my wife gave me the CD, and he started explaining this, and it was just like, wow, this answers all my questions. So I was real excited about taking some of the classes. So I did them online. I started taking online classes. And the second year, you have to come up, or you have to go to one of their extension schools, because you actually have to be at the location for the second year, and you have to go on a foreign mission trip, which I went to Russia last year. So that's the requirement. So I thought, well, that's fine. Someday I'll go take my second year. In the meantime, I'll do online and self-paced courses that they offer from the college. And so all the time I'm thinking, I'm just going to do this because I want to learn it, but this is what I'm going to do with my future, because I want to get my inventions going, right?
Yeah.
So I get about halfway through the first year of classes, and I wasn't in a hurry. I wasn't coming up here anytime soon, so if it took me 3 or 4 years, I didn't care. I was just taking the class whenever I wanted to. So I'm halfway through the first year, and this guy Andrew gets up, and he's got a TV teaching thing that he does, and he gets up and says, we've got third-year classes for missions and this and this and this, but we're going to start a new class this next year, and this new classes are going to be for people who want to start businesses or have ideas and witty inventions.
And you said, that's perfect.
And I'm going, you gotta be kidding. How cool is that? Because I knew I was already going to come up here for a second year at some point in time. And so after that, I was like, okay, it's just, when do I start second year? Because I know third year, I'm going to go to the business school. And they already, the nice thing is they already had a couple of years under their belt of doing this, business class, because they had to kind of get it worked out. Who's going to teach?
Yeah.
What are they going to teach? And so, and they were down here on Elkton Drive down in Colorado Springs, and they just moved up to Woodland Park this last year. And so,
So that's just like directly west, right?
well, you can't go straight west because you have to go around Pikes Peak.
Okay.
So you have to, the road that goes up where you go up Pikes Peak, that highway that goes up.
24, is it?
24.
Okay.
And 24, because it goes on over to Breckenridge and Buena Vista. And when you get up to the top, you have to go northwest up Ute Pass. But when you get to the top of the pass and you turn back and go west, Woodland Park's right there at the top.
Okay.
Top of the pass, and that's where the school is.
Okay.
So, but it's pretty cool, because I was like, this is what I was planning on doing with my life anyway. And they've got the best class. There's no way, there's no telling how many years I would have had to struggle trying to put inventions, ideas, and spending money, and these guys have just got, it's 10 times as intense as anything I would have ever.
Yeah. Well, the thing with an entrepreneur, you don't need to say be a tax specialist, but you have to have familiarity with how financial statements are done and like general overall tax issues. You got to kind of know so that you can make your decisions
Yep.
accordingly. That's the thing about an entrepreneur. You got to touch in a lot of areas. You're not a great expert in anything, but you have like the umbrella knowledge.
And that's what we're getting up here, which to me is just real exciting. That I'm getting what I need. But then, like I say, we don't have everything. That's why I want to get involved in the Inventors group. And that's why I want to get involved in the Rocky Mountain Ventures, the VC. And I just want to understand all of it, because like I said, I've got a lot of ideas. I'm just
Yeah, and it's good with the venture group to kind of like always be focused on what people like to see financially and how you build value. Because everything, the bottom line, patenting, running the business, the product, everything is you build value in a company.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line of everything. And so you guys have to keep focusing on that.
Thing I've kind of got to figure out is whether it's a venture capital or an angel investor, um, there's always an exit strategy. And I think with
Yeah,
something
the
I
cash
really
out at the end.
cash
Oops.
out and go. Yeah, and I don't know. I think I've got an idea that maybe I want to not create just an idea that I can cash out on and go to some beach. It's just not, that's not me. I mean, I'm gonna be doing something until I die. You know, I'll be doing something, I'm just not the kind of person to sit. And so, to me, that's kind of the side of it. I'm gonna have to decide before I get to the end of the year what I'm gonna do. Am I gonna go to a venture capital with one idea and try to get some money so I can work on that idea?
Yeah, because that's,
Am I gonna start a manufacturing facility and continue with that? And
that's probably one of the big trouble areas of most of the pitchers is if they do address, some of them don't even address exit, and if they do, it's very superficial. So you wanna show that you've thought about it and it's thorough, and you're acknowledging, these are our scenarios. Like you got to say, I want to be somewhere in 3 years. I want to be somewhere in 5 years.
yeah.
And what are the implications of where you're going to be?
Of course, in the VC, that's the other thing I didn't realize the book, Venture Capitalists for Dummies. I bought that book.
Oh,
It's
Peter's
actually
book.
authored- It's
Yeah.
actually authored, yeah, by the
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. You know him?
Hmm.
You know
Yeah,
him?
we used to, uh, this group and that group, I mean, this group's been around since 78, and that group started in 85.
Oh,
And for many years, we shared administrators.
oh, I see.
So we kind of got newbies, and then if they grew and did well, then they go over there.
Yeah, they go over young, that makes sense, yeah.
And then, we'd encourage our people to go to their meetings, and then we would have people from that group present here. And we got a real good guy. He's an experienced angel and entrepreneur. And I'd like to get him more, but he'll only agree to do once a year.
Yeah,
And he has the room practically full. But he's really good for several reasons. He's an experienced entrepreneur, and a lot of angels are, because they're going to invest in a business they know.
yeah.
So he was doing electronic instrumentation. He grew this company to 150 people and sold out. So he had money. So he's an angel, and he kind of sticks in that field.
Sure.
And he also teaches entrepreneurship at DU.
Yeah.
So he likes to teach. He's good at talking. So he's perfect in that he's good at presenting to the audience, because sometimes people, they know their stuff, but they're not into teaching.
Right.
They're not into talking to groups.
Yeah.
And but he'll be pretty blunt and tell people the way it is, like, and they're, sometimes they're shocked and everything. Because the very first time he came, we had all these people, and the next meeting we had like 1/4 this many, and I said, "You scared everyone away." But I said that was actually the best thing for them,
It was the best thing for a lot of them.
because it's like, it's the investors are going to focus on things the inventors aren't even thinking of. Like the team is one of them. They don't want to hear you're going it alone.
Yeah.
They want to hear that you've got 2, 3, 4 other people, and you have complementary skills. And that's one thing. The experience of the team, and then somebody who's been through it.
Yeah.
But even more important than that, because this guy, Paul, he told me that, a good team's fine, but teams are always changeable.
Yeah.
Says the real thing I look for, and inventors are always hung up on, it's the idea, it's the idea. Like, well, the idea doesn't make a good business. I mean, the biggest businesses don't necessarily have the best products. They're the best businesses.
We got the best teams.
Yeah, because sometimes there's some better quality stuff and the business isn't doing.
You've seen that book or heard that book about getting the right people on the bus.
Yeah,
And that's really true. If you get the right people on the bus and they all have complementary skills, you get a team of people together, then you look around and say, what are we gonna do? Because we can be successful at whatever we wanna do, but now because we're such
right.
a
A good
successful
business
team-
person can make $1 million digging ditches.
Yeah.
If that's, and someone else can have the best technology and never go anywhere.
Not have nothing. And if you put the two together, you got something good.
Yeah.
And that's,
But what this angel told me is that he really looks for what you call your market, like the total addressable market, and how you're going to penetrate it and sell into it, because that's everything. And so that's what he'll challenge people on the most.
that's the thing I gotta figure out on my first idea.
And-
I think I'm gonna pitch is, because it's not a really competitive market, but how do you, um, sometimes the product will make on its own, but you have to get shelf space. And if you can't get shelf space,
And that's hard because it's fixed and it's competitive, yeah.
competitive and fixed, so what you have to do is you have to get into a market where you can, bring something to market in either in a small way with some independence first and gain some traction, or you're gonna have to be able to pitch to a large, distributorship of some sort and have the ability to, sell them on the idea that they'll give you, space. And then if you do that, you've got the other problem, which is growth, which we've had in our business before, you'd think, oh, if we just double our size this year, it'd be great. It nearly killed us.
Yeah, because even if you have brilliant marketing and you get demand up, if you don't fulfill it with quality products on time, you've actually pissed off people even worse.
We did that, well, no, we handled it okay, except for the city of Tulsa, but I had 1 month in '96, that I did 3 years worth of business in 1 month.
Wow.
And it basically doubled the size of our company, or the products and customers that we had out in 1 month. And to get that set up and get it installed and get it working, we did a good job on everybody except City of Tulsa. I don't think City of Tulsa will ever do business with us again. If they know who we are, we've had name change, so maybe they wouldn't recognize us. But, you need twice as many technicians, you need twice as much support.
And you don't have that overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got the business overnight though.
Yeah.
We got it in 1 month, and so fortunately, we had an Oklahoma City office that we could pull from,
Mhm.
and that allowed us to grow, but, that's even with my idea, if I can sell it to the right kind of market and convince somebody to handle it, then my challenge would be, can I produce enough? Because if it sells anything close to what it should
Yeah.
in the marketplace, now can you produce enough? So now you've gotta make a decision, do I go to an angel investor or venture capital and say, but I'd almost have to have this contract first. I'd have to have this contract and they say that they would buy this much product, and then I'd have to go and get this much money so I could have this much production.
Yeah, because it
So-
takes money to make product. I mean,
Yeah.
the way I look at it, yeah, building inventory is you are buying thousands of your own product, at least temporarily.
That's right.
That's your
Now,
working capital.
And then if you're undercapitalized, if you don't have the cash flow, then you'll strangle the
Yeah.
business because you can't create enough product, so you have to, that's one thing they've been teaching us up there is say, if you, depending on what your scaling is, if you are undercapitalized, you won't have enough cash flow to grow the business, and even though you've got a great idea, you've got the marketing, you've got everything there, if you're undercapitalized, you can't keep your cash flow going, then you kill the business, and so.
It's like you're
I'll do a
choking
whole
it.
bunch of stuff.
Well, it's hard because the outside world is always the demand. Like you said, 3 years of business in 1 month, and the processes you have to serve that aren't that
Yeah.
they can't move at the rate the market does.
Yeah.
So then it's always this kind of getting everything to work.
Yeah. But, you know, at least I'm aware. And I think that's, again,
Yeah.
the real plus of going through.
Well, that's the whole thing. You can look ahead and go, I know this one problem's gonna be, this issue's gonna be a problem, so I gotta think about how to get ready instead of being blindsided.
Yeah. So that's, it's a lot more than I was like most inventors though. Yeah, I'll just make a product, I'll get it out there, somebody will buy it, and make a lot of money, and now
It's like,
that whole thing's gone away. It's completely.
it's always, you can tell after talking to people in like less than a minute whether they've been through it or not. Because everything's always easy when you haven't done it.
Yeah. Well, I still haven't done it. At least I'm starting to realize how difficult it is. And like I say, the training we get, you know, the schooling, it's just, it's really good. It's very exciting to have that, because I feel like when I get out in May, you know, if I'll invest the time, I'm still working 6 hours a day. The company lets me work remotely.
So how soon are you gonna get things going then?
For, what's that?
You're gonna graduate and then retire from Xerox and then start this, or?
Well, the idea, what I have in my mind right now, and what I'm doing right now in the business in Oklahoma, I will probably have to go at least through July or August, because I'm working in public sector, and public sector buys in June. Their fiscal year starts in July.
Okay.
So all the work I'm doing now will probably not come to fruition until April and June, and then you got installation. So I'm thinking right now I'll probably end up at least staying through the summer, because that's the one thing, if I invest a lot of money, whatever money I have, then I still probably need to have a job that's paying me a monthly income. So I'm not, because that's something angel investors and venture capitalists, they're not gonna.
Yeah, you have your personal living expenses and they don't wanna
They're not gonna
invest in
fund me,
that. They want the money to go directly in the business.
which is what I wanna.
Yeah.
I wanna show them, you know, you're not having to fund me, I can fund myself. And if business, and I think business should work, because I've been doing this for 33 years, I should be able to give, you know, have some really good income coming in towards the summer months, which will allow me to, you know, the money will be there. I have a lot of vacation time saved up, so I should be able to kind of work this in combination. But the plan is, when I get to May, when I graduate in May, I'm ready to launch. I already know whether I'm gonna use investors or not, you know, venture capitalists or an angel investor, how I'm gonna try to do it, where I'm gonna try to launch it, how I'm gonna scale it, have everything ready to go, and be ready to, you know, kind of drop the hammer in May, 1st of June,
Hmm.
and start off with it. That's the plan right now, but things can change. We just kind of see how it all works and where it goes. But I really have a different thought process than I did when I was a year ago thinking about this, where I'm just gonna take one idea, make some money, go to the next, and go to the next. I really see that group of people up there in Colorado, because it's a pretty good group of 70 people. There's some people who've been in business before, there's some new young people, but there's people with a lot of good work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and, you know, some of them are sharper than others, as always in a group, you know. But I see that group of people, that if we can kind of team together, because the CEO training and things we do, if we can kind of group together, and rather than just learning something and going off on our own, if we can kind of stay a little bit closer together, because we've got some common ideas, then if we need a patent attorney, we maybe put a patent attorney on retainer type thing, and we've got somebody that it's not one person that has to come up with all this money to do this one thing. And if we work together, and we've got a good accountant, which there's some people up there that are, you know, just like me. You don't think of too many 58-year-old sales professionals, Xerox reps, you know, that are been in business for 33 years, that are gonna put their life aside and go to school for 2 years, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
get into the third year there. People do that, but we've got 700 people up there that are doing that. And now some of them, there's 150, 200 of them that are coming
But I think it just changes growth. I mean, instead of like you get kind of a rut doing one thing, and then you branch out, you have new challenges, you learn new things. It expands you.
Yeah, it does. Most of the people up here,
I mean, it's a career change essentially.
yeah, it is. I think the way that we feel, most of the people up there feel, is that, we're there for a reason. We're there and we see things going on that we can't explain outside of the fact that God's doing something.
Yeah.
And we're involved
Like
in it.
why are you doing what you do? Well,
And it's pretty cool.
something's driving you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Uh,
But
well, it's always good. I mean, those kind of things, and this business and field is like people come into this selectively at least, and nobody has to be here, so that's a good thing.
yeah,
You're doing this on your own free will.
yeah,
'Cause you're doing it because you want to. So
yeah. And there's nobody up there that's like, telling us, well, go sell everything and give us the money. And,
yeah.
so it's not one of those deals either. It's people that just,
Because the extra work you do is for you make equity for yourself.
yeah.
You know.
And that's what they're telling us this year. They say, look, invest in yourself. Don't worry about investing the money in something right now. You're investing in your own education. You're investing in learning how to go out and be in your own
Yeah.
business. And one thing that they're really, really
And you don't lose it like you do money,
Yeah, that's right.
unless you get amnesia.
Yeah, you got something. And they're really high too on the first thing that they teach us is how to get out of debt. How to get out of debt, how to create wealth, and how to position yourself to make your money work for yourself or work for you. And that's a really interesting concept because this guy pulls out $100 bill and says, "Now, I know all of you know how to go out and work and get $100. You do this, you do that, you sell something, whatever, you got $100. But how many of you can take this $100 and turn it into 200?
Yeah.
Make the money turn into money. And that's the thing, that's the first thing they teach us. Is first thing you gotta do is get out of debt, get out of consumer debt, get to the point where you're not paying a lot of interest. And now get it.
Yeah,
where
because
that
it's a
money-
rut, and people,
Make that money work for you.
there's two ways to spend money. There's investment and consumption.
Yeah.
And consumption is, okay, you buy the fancy new truck or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, and it's cool at first, but in 2 years, it's worth half what you paid.
Then
And that loss is your trade-off for the benefit to you.
And that's what they teach is, it's okay to have that consumption, but have that consumption with money that's passive income, not with the dollars that you have to make every month. And you have to go to a job for it. Get to where you don't have to go to a job and you have the wealth. And then when you get to that level where you can consume it, and the main teacher up there who's now the CEO, he's got, I think, 15 companies and he's worth 300 or 400 million, Paul Milligan. And when he was establishing his company, he drove a 15-year-old car and lived in a $60,000 home, but he was making $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
But
Now, see, that takes a special person because most people, the income goes up. They'll start consuming more.
yeah,
And well, what do you spend money on? Well, a fancier house, a fancier car, trips, better clothes. It just never ends.
yeah, it never ends. But he's a really great teacher to have there because he said, what I did is I put that money back and I put that money back and I put that money back.
Right, and just keep the old car.
Yeah, and he said, and then when they got ready to go public, their IPO, their initial public offering, when they got ready to go public, they had no debt, and they had never been in debt. And in the industry that they were in, it was just unheard of. And so their initial public offering was so strong, and they didn't have to prove anything. And when they rang the bell, they just took off because he had done all of these things. Now he can buy what he wants, and he can drive what he wants, and he does, and he can live where he wants and do what he wants to do. And so it's good people to teach you. It's a good program, I think. But, well, I've got an hour and a half back.
Yeah, let me get this thing off. I just,